Husband's worst nightmare. My wife's glamour shoots? It's just art, she said. My young and beautiful wife turned out to be a model for men's magazines before marriage, and she posed very revealingly. I learned that line the hard way, half by accident, half by the kind of curiosity you try to call intuition after the fact. I'm Nate, 36. My wife is Brielle, 29. Brie for short, all honey hair and Pilates confidence. We've been married 4 years, together 6. On Instagram she's tasteful and artsy. Oat milk lattes, farmer's market sunflowers, our golden retriever, Archie. In real life she's louder, brighter, the center of every room. I used to be proud of that. Maybe I still was, right until the night a DM slid into my requests. Isn't this your wife? There was a link to a forum thread, then an archive site tied to a stage name that sounded suspiciously like Brie's college burner. The photos weren't subtle. Studio-lit lingerie. What look? A few sets that, if you squinted, were basically softcore. Some were dated pre-marriage, but a couple had a tattoo she got after our honeymoon. My stomach did that elevator drop thing. The comments under the thread didn't help, men arguing whether she'd retired or went premium. I closed the browser and stared at my coffee until it went cold. I asked her that night, soft pitch, ever modeled? She laughed too quickly. It's art, Nathan. Don't be insecure. Then she pivoted, classic Brie, into how controlling husbands crush free spirits. I backed off, told myself it was just a weird corner of her past. Except the past suddenly needed new lingerie on our joint card, brand collabs, and studio nights that ended with her phone on Do Not Disturb. The first real splinter came from her cousin, Talia, at a backyard barbecue. A drunk whisper, Brie's friend Mason, the photographer, says she's back in the game. Don't freak. I did not freak. I memorized the name. 2 weeks later she went out with the girls. The group story at 9:13 p.m. showed cocktails. At 10:02 it showed a hotel skyline. My brain pinged a memory from a thread about bachelorette weekends nuking relationships. Alcohol, hype, and a couple of pros seeded into the crowd to get the party going, and people did things they swore they never would. Lives break that way fast. I wish I could say I trusted her. What I did instead was open a new notes doc titled Brie Timeline and start writing dates. I didn't know it yet, but that was the first nail in a coffin I didn't want to admit existed. The night everything tilted, Brie texted at 7:42 p.m., girls' night. Don't wait up, kiss mark. I stared at the screen a long time. Then I fed Archie, watered the fiddle leaf fig she always forgets, and told myself to stop being paranoid. At 9:11 her group chat posted a boomerang of martinis. At 10:03, a lone shot of a hotel elevator mirror, just chrome and lipstick, but I recognized her phone case in the corner, that dumb glittery one with a heart. I sat there with my keys in my palm like they might burn a hole. Call it instinct. Call it a husband finally listening to the itch in his ribs. I drove downtown. The boutique hotel valet looked at me like I belonged. Inside, the lobby smelled like clean money, citrus and polished wood. I could hear laughter drifting from the bar, but I followed a different sound, high heels and a hush behind it. The elevator doors slid open. A perfumed breeze hit me like a memory I didn't want. I stepped out on 12. A door down the hall was propped with a shoe. Music muffled. Then Brie's laugh, bright, performative, a little too loud. I shouldn't have looked. I did anyway. Through the inch of open space, I saw enough to rewrite our marriage in a heartbeat. Brie stood barefoot in a lace set I'd never seen, hair pinned up with those little gold clips she buys in bulk. A tall guy with a camera strap around his neck. Mason was kissing the hollow beneath her ear like he'd mapped it. Another figure, a woman in a silk robe, leaned against the dresser and smiled like she'd ordered room service and it finally arrived. They weren't fumbling or guilty. They were rehearsed. Brie laughed again when Mason whispered something. She arched into him like a slow wave. It wasn't porn, just the kind of soft, practiced intimacy that made my skin go cold. The robe woman reached out and traced a fingertip along Brie's hip bone, casual, almost bored. Brie's eyes fluttered shut, head tilting in a way I knew, had known, by heart. That used to be mine. I stepped back without breathing. The hallway swam. I made it to the stairwell and sat on cold concrete between floors, listening to my pulse pound in my ears. A text pinged from Brie right then, love you face blowing is. I stared at it until the screen timed out. When I finally moved, it was to the parking garage, where I leaned over the steering wheel and let something ugly and loud tear out of me. Then I went still. The anger cooled into a flat, metallic calm I didn't recognize. I opened my notes app and added, 10:17 p.m. Hotel 12, Mason plus unknown female. Lace set. Camera strap. Her laugh. On the drive home, the city lights looked like 1,000 unblinking eyes. I kept thinking about how easy it had been for them, how practiced. Not a line crossed in a moment. A routine. A life I didn't know I was living in. I parked, sat in the quiet kitchen, and watched dawn unspool across the backsplash. Archie thumped his tail at my feet like nothing had changed. At 6:12 a.m. the door opened. Bree padded in, hair damp, sweatshirt swallowing the lace I knew was underneath. She kissed my head. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, all soft concern. "Yeah," I said, and slid my phone face down on the table before I could show her the list that would become my map out. Bree breezed past me toward the sink, sleeves pushed up, like she hadn't just walked out of a hotel at sunrise. "Talia's couch is a nightmare," she yawned. "We did a sleepover. I let the lie sit between us like a fog. How's room 12? The faucet squeaked off. She turned, smile calcifying. "What?" I was downtown. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone older. "I saw you with Mason. And a woman." For half a second her face flashed raw panic, then the mask slammed on. I rolled a little scoff. "Nathan, you followed me? That's creepy." And, "Wow, you're really going to make it?" Door was cracked. I saw a shadow into a federal case. "The door wasn't cracked," I said. "I heard your laugh. I saw his camera. The lace." She snorted, moved closer, invading the space like I was the one who needed to back up. "We were shooting. It's performance. You always assume the worst because you don't understand the industry." "Industry?" I asked, because sometimes you need to hear the word out loud to know you're not insane. "Content," she said crisply, as if rebranding would fix it. "Aesthetic. Collaborations." Nothing happened. Then, without missing a beat, and even if it did, kissing a model I was working with is not cheating. Women kiss. Grow up. Pressed against a wall in lingerie isn't work, Bree. That's when she went mean. "You're so predictable," she hissed. "You sit here with your spreadsheets and your dog and think you're a hero because you water a plant. I need passion. I need to feel alive. Mason gets it." I felt it, the insult sinking hooks. I swallowed. "Are you sleeping with him?" She laughed. "God, you're pathetic. Are you sleeping with him?" I repeated. Silence. A micro flinch. Then the pivot. She grabbed my hands and the tears came like she'd hit a button. "Nate, baby, listen. I'm under pressure. I did a couple of premium sets, just photos. We're paying off my student loans. It's temporary. You always said we're a team. You told me the loans were nearly gone." "They are," she said, voice wobbling beautifully. "Mostly. I didn't want to worry you." She slid to her knees on the tile, clutching my wrist like a penitent. "Please don't punish me for trying to help us." It should have moved me. It always had before. But the image of that silk-robed woman leaning in like she owned my wife's skin burned behind my eyes. "Show me your phone." She froze. Then new script. "You don't get to invade my privacy because you're insecure." "Then open your Cash App," I said. "Or Venmo. Or whatever you're using. Let me see." "Helping us." Another beat. She stood, wiped flawless tears. "This is abuse," she whispered. "You're controlling. My therapist will have a field day." "You don't have a therapist." She blinked. The mask slipped again. "I meant Talia. She's practically a therapist." I should have stopped. Instead, I said the quiet part. "There was another woman." Her expression flickered from outrage to annoyance. "'Kay. She's bi. It's fine." Then the dagger. "Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't need to outsource excitement." Something cracked inside me. Not loud. Just a hairline, but I felt the shift. "I'm going to shower," I said, because if I stayed I'd either beg or break dishes. "When I'm back we're going to talk like adults. And you're going to be honest." She followed me down the hall, voice climbing. "There's nothing to be honest about. You're inventing a narrative because you can't handle my past. I told you about modeling. You told me it ended." "It mostly did," she snapped. "And the shoots pay well. You should be grateful. Do you know how many guys would kill for a wife like me?" I closed the bathroom door on her voice and leaned my forehead against the cool wood. Under the hiss of the water I heard a thud, the sound of her sliding down the other side, letting out a practiced little sob. For a minute, my hands shook so badly I couldn't turn the tap. When I came out, she was on the bedroom floor, mascara tracking, whispering how sorry she was, how she'd fix it, how Mason meant nothing. "Please," she said, palms up. "We can move past this. Don't ruin us." I looked at the woman I loved and saw a stranger holding cue cards. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I went to the kitchen, opened my laptop, and added a new line to the timeline. 7:06 a.m. Denial. Gaslight. Tears on command. We can move past this. For the next 2 weeks, our house felt like a stage play. Bree drifted around like the wounded heroine of her own movie, oversized hoodies, puffy eyes, performative sighs. Every night she'd try a different tactic. Tearful apologies, sexy lingerie, just for me, or cold silences meant to punish me for being controlling. She'd sit cross-legged on the couch, scrolling, thumbs moving fast. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Sponsors," then mutter something about me ruining her flow. I tried at first to believe her. I went to work, fixed the leaky kitchen faucet, even cooked her favorite pasta. At night I'd stare at the ceiling while she fell asleep, next to me, phone glowing under the covers. Some mornings she'd act affectionate, kissing me before leaving for shoots. Others she'd toss a barb. Most guys would be proud their wife's still in demand. Meanwhile, I was quietly becoming a different man. My brother Kyle, who works in accounting, noticed the slump in my voice during a weekend call and said, "You sound like you're living with a landmine." I told him everything, the hotel, Mason, the lingerie. He didn't even blink. "Get your financials in order," he said. "If she's using you, protect yourself now." That night I logged into our joint accounts. My stomach dropped. Charges everywhere. Boutique hotels 2 towns over, lingerie boutiques, a Vegas airline ticket I knew nothing about. A creative retainer from our savings to a studio name I'd never heard. She'd been using our money to fund the affair, or whatever projects she was really doing. I started a folder. Screenshots of bank statements. Cash App usernames. Her texts to Kay, which I screen recorded one afternoon while she was showering. She'd left her iPad open on the kitchen counter. The messages weren't ambiguous. They were raw. Kay writing things like, "Mason's so good at coaching you, babe. He'll get you to the next level." Bree replying, "I just wish Nate would stop suspecting. It's exhausting." Skeletons kept spilling out. My mom called one evening after church, voice hesitant. "Honey, I don't know how to say this, but someone showed me a link today. Bree's face is on a website. It's adult." I closed my eyes, clenched my jaw, and said, "Thanks, Mom." "I know." She started crying. My dad, who rarely weighs in on my life, texted, "Come over if you need space." On Bree's side, things were even stranger. Her mother, a Botox divorcee who once told me monogamy is a scam, DM'd me on Instagram, "Don't be so uptight. Bree's an artist. You're lucky." Her brother, a wannabe influencer, posted a meme of haters trying to drag a queen down that featured a stock photo couple that looked eerily like us. The whole family seemed complicit or willfully blind. One Thursday night she came home at 1:30 a.m., smelling like whiskey and a perfume I didn't buy. She dropped her heels by the door and said, "You left the trash full again. No wonder I get migraines in this place." That was it, the moment something in me hardened. I didn't yell. I didn't even look up from the notebook where I was cataloging receipts. I just wrote, "Trash comment, 1:32 a.m., trigger point," and underlined it twice. Then I said, "Hope the shoot went well." She froze, waiting for the fight. When none came, she tried a small smile. "You're learning not to interrogate me. That's good." Inside though, I was already plotting my exit. Kyle met me at a diner that smelled like burnt coffee and hope. He slid me a yellow legal pad and said, "Write down everything you can't afford to lose." I wrote 3 things: Archie, the small woodworking shop my dad left me, and my sanity. Step 1 was boring and brutal. I opened a new checking account in my name only, rerouted my direct deposit, froze the joint card due to suspected fraud, not a lie, pulled the deed to the shop out of our important documents box and discovered Bree had tucked a blank cohabitation agreement on top, highlighted in neon. Subtle. I walked the deed into a lawyer's office the next morning and moved the shop under an LLC. The lawyer, a calm woman named Patel, flipped through my folder of screenshots and said, "You've got a clean case for financial misconduct. Keep collecting. Don't rage text. Don't threaten. Just document." At home, I played the part of the chastened husband. I brought Bree coffee. I asked about her sponsors. I even complimented a dress that looked like it was sewn out of fog. She reveled in it, brazen again, humming in the bathroom while she contoured, throwing me crumbs of affection like I was a pet who'd finally learned the trick. But when she reached for my laptop one afternoon, to borrow the good camera, I gently took it back. "I need it for the shop," I said. Her eyes sharpened. "Since when?" "Since I caught you in a hotel hallway." I didn't say. Mason texted her while we were eating takeout. The preview popped up. Tonight. Room comped. K's in. She flipped the screen face down and went syrupy. Babe, girls' night. Talia's. You okay to fend for yourself? I smiled. Have fun. Her mouth twitched. She needed the fight to make the lie taste better. When it didn't come, she faltered. That night, I drove to my dad's shop and turned on every dusty light. The place smelled like cedar and ghosts. I planed planks until my shoulders burned, found the old 1950s lathe under a tarp, and coaxed it back to life. The whine of the belt drowned out the images in my head. Bree's head tilted, Mason's hand at her waist, that silk robe slipping. I shaped a rough bowl badly and didn't care. For the first time in months, I felt the noise drop. 2 days later, I pulled another thread. The studio lease she'd begged me to co-sign 3 months back? I called the landlord and exercised the clause that allowed me to sever my guarantee if the other co-signer violated terms. There have been issues, I said. He sighed like this wasn't his first rodeo with content creators. Paperwork filed. Safety rope cut. Bree sensed the ground shifting. She doubled down on theater. One evening she threw herself to her knees on the kitchen tile, sobbing so hard Archie hid under the table. I made mistakes, Nate, okay? But I'm your wife. I'm your life. Don't throw me away because I wanted to feel wanted. She grabbed my hands, pressed them to her cheeks, kissed my knuckles like a penitent. Between hiccups, the venom slipped. You're not exactly a thrill ride, you know? I lifted her up. Set her in a chair. You don't get to insult me and call it therapy, I said quietly. If you want to be here, you stop the shoots. You block Mason. You give me passwords. Transparency for 12 months, minimum. She stared, mascara spidering. Then the rage. You think I'm going to let you monitor me like a prisoner? I'm not some small-town wife baking casseroles while you whittle bowls. I have a brand. Then choose your brand, I said. Or choose your marriage. She shot up so fast the chair skittered. I choose me. Finally honest, I said, and felt something inside me click into place like a lock turning. That weekend, her family staged an intervention on me. Her mother marched into our living room with a charcuterie board and said, Nate, women in their 20s explore. You can't police that. Her brother filmed the whole thing for content, until I told him to put the phone down or get out. Bree cried into a linen napkin, then peeked to see if her eyeliner had smudged artfully. My parents arrived halfway through and stood behind me like bookends. My dad, who almost never speaks first, said, Brielle, you don't humiliate a man and ask him to clap. That night, Bree didn't come home. I didn't check the hotel cameras. I didn't drive downtown. I went to the shop, sanded the bowl smooth and oiled it until the grain bloomed like a small sunrise. Then I made a list on the back of a receipt. Lawyer retained, account secured, lease severed, evidence backed up, cloud plus hard drive. Tell Jenna, my sister. Ask her to take Archie if things go nuclear. Underneath, I wrote one more line I hadn't let myself write yet. Pick a date. Pull the plug. I picked a date, circled it in red, and woke up before sunrise like I was going in for surgery. Patel had the packet ready. Petition, financial exhibits, an emergency motion to freeze the joint account before it became a revolving door for creative fees. I drove downtown with Archie riding shotgun like a furry bailiff. At 10:07 a.m., I slid the envelope onto our kitchen island. Bree swept in 20 minutes later, already dressed for the part. Slip dress, glossy lips, sunglasses she didn't need. She clocked the envelope like a hawk. What's this? She chirped, tearing it open. The chirp died. Color drained. Then the pivot, always the pivot. You can't do this. I already did, I said. The hearing notice is in the back. She laughed, high and brittle. This is abuse. You're trying to ruin me because you can't handle a powerful woman. She flung pages like confetti, hotel bills, Cash App screenshots, the studio lease violation letter. These are out of context. Context is you in room 12, I said quietly. Context is our savings paying for your brand. She switched scripts mid-breath. Tears. Knees. Palms upward. Nate, please. I messed up. I panicked. Mason, he pushed. Kay, she's a phase. It's over. I'll delete everything. I'll block them. We can start fresh. We can move to Austin. New scene, new us. Her mascara made perfect tracks down her cheeks. She was beautiful in the way a storm is. I felt the ache real and old. The part of me that wanted to be chosen twitched. Then my phone buzzed, a fraud alert. New store card application, with my SSN. I opened the email. Timestamp. Last night, 1:14 a.m. My breath left my body like a punched balloon. You applied for credit in my name. Her face did a quick, ugly math. It was for us. For inventory. The lie crashed. Fine. I screwed up. You're good. Happy? No, I said. I'm done. She went volcanic. You're nothing without me. You're beige. Who's going to want you? Your sad little bowls and your dad jeans? She grabbed the petition and ripped it down the middle, then realized there were 4 more copies on the counter. Rage sputtered, then, bargaining. Okay, 6 months. Trial separation. No lawyers. I swear I'll. She reached for my belt like seduction could rewind time. I stepped back. She crumpled. Don't do this to me, Nate. Don't abandon me. I'm not abandoning you, I said. I'm abstaining from insanity. Her mother arrived, summoned by some bat signal in Bree's tears. She marched in, air-kissed the drama, and hissed in my ear, if you drag her name publicly, we'll ruin yours. Behind her, Bree's brother filmed again until I took the phone out of his hand and set it face down. My mom called while they were still in my living room. Son, she said, voice steady, we're proud of you for drawing a line. My dad added, simple as a hammer, hold. By afternoon, Patel had the accounts frozen and a temporary order filed. I packed a duffel, the hard drive, and Archie's leash. Bree followed me to the door, shake crying, grabbing at my sleeve, then collapsing to the floor when I didn't turn around. I'll change, she sobbed. I'll be who you want. That's the point, I said, hand on the knob. I want you. And I don't know who that is anymore. The latch clicked behind me like the end of a chapter you don't dare reread. I drove straight to my dad's old shop with Archie panting in the passenger seat and the duffel thumping against my leg like a pulse. The moment I locked the door behind me, the silence hit. Not empty, just still. No perfume masking liquor, no phone pings of girls' night lies. Just the smell of sawdust and oil and an old radio on low. Within 24 hours the town had its story. Jenna texted, Bree just posted a reel about being emotionally abused by a controlling husband. She's crying in a car. Comments are a mess. My mom called after seeing it. Ignore it, son, she said. People know who you are. My dad's only words, let her burn herself down. Her family doubled down. Her mother went live on Instagram talking about misogynist smear campaigns. Her brother spliced footage of Bree crying with stock clips of Cages and put a sad indie song over it. Mason posted a single black square with #StandWithB, and then went dark. Kay unfollowed Bree within a week. I watched all of it from the shop on my phone, sanding a cedar board smooth until my fingerprints blurred. At first, the shame still clawed at me. Nights were the worst. I'd lie on the cot in the back room, staring at the corrugated ceiling, hearing her voice like an echo, you're beige. Who's going to want you? I'd picture her on her knees in the kitchen, mascara streaked, and wonder if maybe, somehow, I should have stayed. Then I'd remember the hotel, the credit fraud, the way she sneered while calling me pathetic. The ache hardened into resolve. I started a routine. Up at 6, run the lakeside trail until my lungs burned. Back to the shop by 8, coffee in a dented thermos, plain wood until noon. Eat something real. Therapy over Zoom at 3. Evenings sanding bowls or sketching plans for a new workbench. I built my own world 1 inch at a time, and every board I smoothed felt like I was sanding down a jagged edge in myself. The gossip slowly flipped. Jenna texted again. People at the salon are saying Bree's telling 3 different versions of the story. Kyle sent me a screenshot from Reddit. Someone had posted about a model wife scamming her husband with content shoots and using his money. Comments weren't kind to her. Even her mother's IG live started to attract laughing emojis. One night Jenna showed up at the shop with her kids. They ran between stacks of planks, Archie chasing them. She handed me a foil-wrapped casserole and said, "You look like hell, but you also look like you're breathing for the first time in years." I laughed, an actual from-the-gut laugh, and almost scared myself. Bree texted me a barrage that same night. "You're ruining my life. I was just trying to build something for us. Mason was a phase. I'll delete everything. Please." I didn't reply. Patel told me no contact except through her office, and every time my phone buzzed, I pictured Bree in some half-lit room drafting a new script. Her last text before I blocked her number said, "You'll die alone, Nate. Nobody wants a boring man with a dog and a hobby." I closed the message, picked up the bowl I'd been carving and held it to the light. The grain curved like a small, quiet wave. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. 2 weeks into no contact, the skeletons started rattling out like they had a group chat. First ping, a Facebook message from a woman named Lila. "You don't know me. I'm Mason's wife." My stomach dropped. She wasn't angry, she was tired. I'm leaving him. Thought you should know he's been doing this mentorship thing with clients for years. Same script. Same hotel. Same it's just art. He tells them to lean into the forbidden. She attached screenshots, calendar entries labeled with fruit emojis and initials, including B. I stared until the dates blurred. Second ping. Talia asked to meet at a coffee shop and arrived already crying. I thought I was helping her, she said, twisting a napkin to shreds. She said you were boring and she needed spice. I covered for her. I regret it. Then she told me the part one didn't see coming, the Vegas ticket I'd found. Bree had floated the idea of a girls' collab and put it on our card, but it wasn't just a trip, it was an audition. For a private channel with tears, Talia whispered. She was going to do couple stuff. She said it was empowering. My mouth went dry. Third ping was a knock at the shop door. Landlord from the studio, face like a thunderhead. You co-signed, he said, dropping a sheath of photos on my workbench. The studio, trashed. Red wine stains, silk robes, furniture missing. They filmed illegally on the patio. Joy is suing me. I'm coming after her, but your name's on some of this. I handed him Patel's letter severing my guarantee and the proof she'd violated terms. He blew out a breath. Smart man, he said softer. That night, Bree showed up at the shop. I don't know how she found me, maybe the car out front, maybe a sixth sense for when attention shifts away. She pounded on the door until Archie barked himself hoarse. I opened it because I'm a human being. She took one look at the cot, the thermos, the bowl on the bench and sank theatrically to her knees. Nate, please, she sobbed. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I miss you. I'll quit everything. I'll delete it all. I'll go to church. She reached for my hands, I stepped back. The tears shut off midstream. You're heartless, she spat. Then back to pleading, I'm late. I think I'm pregnant. The word detonated in the room. My throat closed. She saw it pressed in. We can fix this for the baby. Mason means nothing. Kay was a phase. I was lost. She laid her head against my hip like a supplicant. I wanted to believe her so badly my bones hurt. Patel's voice cut through my fog. Don't make decisions based on tears or threats. As for proof. I swallowed. Take a test. Now. I held up my phone with a nearby pharmacy's hours. Her face flickered. Rage, calculation, martyrdom. You don't trust me even with your child. She stood chin high. I'll email you the ultrasound, she said and flounced out. No email came. 2 days later, she posted an IG story of champagne with the caption, back to me. Fourth skeleton. Kyle found a transfer from our savings to her mother labeled medical fund. He called me voice flat. 10 grand. I confronted the number from my burner email, CC Patel. Her mother replied with a paragraph about supporting a queen's mental health, and a Venmo screenshot of the money going right back to Bree with a crown emoji. I forwarded it to Patel. Thank you, she wrote. We'll add embezzlement of marital funds. Kay DM'd me a half apology, sorry for my part in this. She said you were abusive. I believed her. I typed and deleted 12 replies then settled on, don't contact me again. The worst part wasn't the lawsuits or the lies. It was the mirror. Every night I checked my reflection, gray at the temples, sawdust on my shirt, and heard Bree's voice, you're beige. Not enough. I picked up the bowl I'd been shaping and wanted it to be a shield. Instead, I set it down and wrote on the shop whiteboard, you were steady. She was chaos. Chaos lied. Then I laced my shoes and ran the lakeside trail until the thought emptied out. By the weekend, even her family looked frayed. Her brother posted a video about toxic men that accidentally showed Bree dancing on a table in the background. Comments roasted him. Her mother texted a truce, let's settle quietly, then threatened to go nuclear when I didn't reply. Jenna brought my parents by the shop with a peach pie, and my dad ran a hand over the new workbench I'd built. Straight, he said, approving. My mom squeezed my arm. You're not beige, she whispered. You're a backbone. That night, under the hum of the shop lights, I opened a new doc titled Plan B. Life and wrote the first 3 lines without thinking. Launch a YouTube channel, bowls and boundaries. Book a solo trip, somewhere with water and sun. Stop apologizing for being good. Bowls and boundaries, went live on a Tuesday night with my phone duct taped to a paint can. I filmed a cedar blank spinning on the lathe while I talked about joints, grit, and the kind of lines you draw in wood and in life. I expected 10 views and a pity like from Jenna. By morning the video had 12,000. Comments stacked up from men and women who'd been detonated and were trying to build something that didn't explode. One said, "Watching you sand is calming the part of me she set on fire." I read that twice, then got up and made coffee without shaking. The court hearing landed the same week. Patel wore steel in a blazer. Bree arrived late, sunglasses on indoors, clutching a trendy water bottle like a talisman. Her attorney tried the controlling husband angle. Patel slid over the credit fraud alert, the studio lease breach, the Cash App trail, the Venmo with the crown emoji. Bree's jaw clicked. When the judge granted a temporary support waiver pending forensic accounting, Bree burst into those perfect tears, then hissed at me in the hallway, "You're killing me." I said nothing. Kyle squeezed my shoulder like a metronome, keeping me from speeding up. That night I booked a trip. Not to run, but to mark a line. I picked the Oregon coast, cold water, hard edges, a place that doesn't pretend to be gentle. I stood on a cliff in wind that tasted like metal and watched the Pacific throw itself at rock over and over, and thought, resilience looks violent up close. I ate clam chowder at a counter with fishermen who didn't ask questions, slept like a dropped anchor, and woke sore in a good way. I brought back driftwood and the idea for a series, Stormline, bowls with a dark epoxy seam where the grain had split. While I was gone, the last skeleton rattled out. Lila, Mason's wife, forwarded me a group email from models he'd mentored. Bree was on the chain. Half of them were done, half were still clinging to the idea of art. Lila wrote, "If anyone wants witness statements, I'm here." Patel flagged it with a little star. When I got home, a certified letter from the HOA waited, fines against the studio, names attached. Not mine. I stared at the line where Bree's signature lived without my safety net and felt nothing. Relief is quiet. Bree's family splintered. Her brother posted a Notes app apology for weaponizing a personal story, then deleted it and uploaded a thirst trap. Her mother texted Jenna a prayer hands emoji and a link to a retreat that looked suspiciously like a timeshare. Bree sent me a single email through counsel, "I want to come home." Patel answered for me, "No contact outside of legal channels. Disclose all revenue streams." The day the first Stormline bowl sold, the buyer, a contractor named Gabe, picked it up in person and kept staring at the seam. "It's the crack that makes it interesting," he said. "You didn't hide it." After he left, I sat on the shop floor with Archie's head in my lap and cried, not the panicked crying of the early days, but the kind that wrings out what's left. That weekend, Jenna dragged me to her neighbor's backyard for a cookout. I almost bailed. Then a woman introduced herself while refilling the guacamole. "I'm Claire. Jenna says you make haunted bowls." She had laugh lines earned honestly and eyes that didn't slide off my face to look for a camera. We talked about dogs and terrible coffee and coastal storms. When she asked about the channel, I braced for the performance face people put on for trauma. She just said, "I subscribe because your sanding ASMR puts my anxiety to sleep." I laughed, real surprised. It didn't feel like a meet cute. It felt like a porch light. Driving back to the shop, I passed our old street by accident. My chest squeezed, my hands didn't tremble. At a red light I watched, in the rear view, my own shoulders, how they sat lower now, how I wasn't craning toward a door that might swing open and crash into me. I went home to the smell of cedar and oil, turned on the radio and wrote on the whiteboard, "You didn't lose a life. You shed a lie." 6 months from detonation, I can finally tell the story without shaking. The divorce terms came through on a gray Wednesday. Fair split minus the money she siphoned, no alimony while the forensic accounting finishes, shop protected, Archie officially mine. Patel sent a one-line email, "You're free." I stared at those 2 words until the screen blurred. Bree's last act was theatrical and small. She showed up at the courthouse in white, why I don't know, then melted down on the steps when the judge declined her last-minute plea for reconciliation. She did the whole show, tears, knees, apologies delivered in bullet points, promises of church and couples therapy, a whisper that she was late again. She wasn't. When I didn't fold, the switch flipped. She called me a coward, said my bowls would rot on Etsy, said I'd die lonely with my emotional support golden. I watched a stranger mouth my name like a curse and felt nothing. Not hate. Not love. Just weather passing. Life is loud and simple now. Bowls and boundaries. Hit 100,000 subs the same week the local paper ran a human interest piece about a guy who turned heartbreak into dovetails. Orders coming faster than I complain. I hired a kid from the community college part-time. He calls me sir and asks good questions. On Fridays I close early and take Archie to the lake. I keep a kayak tied up under the dock and paddle out at sunset, let the quiet thrum in my bones. Stormline became a series. The seams are the... Claire and I are not a capital S story. We are coffee on Sundays, trail runs where we try to outpace our old ghosts, slow jokes over tacos. She knows the headlines and doesn't treat me like a museum exhibit. When she laughs, it lands. When she looks at me, it doesn't feel like an assessment. I built a porch swing for the shop and we sit there sometimes, feet brushing sawdust, talking about nothing. It's enough. My parents come by more. My dad never says much, but he'll run his palm along a tabletop and grunt approval like a benediction. My mom leaves soup on the workbench and hugs me like an anchor. Kyle still texts in bullet points: inventory, insurance, hydrate. Jenna's kids renamed the shop Uncle Nate's Fort and leave sticky fingerprints on the glass. I don't wipe them off right away. I won't pretend I'm invincible. Some nights I still wake to the echo of a hotel hallway and a laugh that used to be mine. Some mornings I still catch my reflection and hear beige. When that happens, I lace my shoes, run the trail, come back to the lathe and let the work teach me again. Turn steady, don't force the cut, respect the grain, and when a piece catches and scars, you don't throw it out. You decide whether to patch the split or let it become the line that makes it beautiful. If you're reading this because your gut is screaming and your head keeps shushing it, here's what I learned the long way. Trust the itch in your ribs. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Document, don't detonate. Screenshots are quieter than shouting and go farther in court than a broken plate. Protect your baseline, your pet, your place, your peace. Revenge that costs you your soul isn't worth it. Legal, quiet consequences are. Boring is a slur invented by people who mistake chaos for depth. Steady is gold. You don't have to fix them. You do have to save yourself. I used to think I lost the love of my life. Turns out I shed the costume of someone else's. The day I signed those papers, I didn't become the abandoned husband. I became a man who knows his worth, holds a line, and builds something real with his own hands. And if that's beige, then beige is the color of peace. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.